Welcome back. I'm Helen.
I'm James.
And we are global nomads. And in 2024, we sold everything we owned to retire early and travel full time. Today, we're going to take you on the Death Railway to the River Kwai. So we first visited Bangkok back in 1998. And at that time, we were with a bank that James worked for, and we were on an incentive trip that you had won. At that point, we did have the option to go to the River Kwai, and we chose not to because it was going to be a long day and we were tired and we didn't go, and regretted it ever since. So we knew once we were coming back to Bangkok that we definitely wanted to go, and we had seen another YouTuber's video about the Royal Blossom train, which is basically a tourist train, takes you on parts of the Death Railway up to the River Kwai and beyond to a waterfall. So we tried to book tickets. It's actually really hard to get tickets for this train. You had looked.
Yeah, they charter the Royal Blossom is chartered privately, so you have to know somebody who will charter the train and then try and join their train group. And we got in touch with a guy called Richard Barrow from the Asian Train Guide, and it just happened that on the 3 weeks that we were in Bangkok, it's nearly said KL, on the 3 weeks that we were in Bangkok, right bang in the middle, there was a tour that came up. Unfortunately, we found out about it too late and it was sold out. But when we inquired, 2 people had just cancelled and we managed to snag the last 2 seats.
If you are not familiar with the Death Railway, basically, it was built during World War II by prisoners of war from the Allied forces. At that point, the Japanese were occupying Thailand during World War II, and they needed to be able to transport goods from Thailand up to what was then Burma, now known as Myanmar. And the railway was the way that they had envisioned that they would do this. And basically, it was built, like I said, with forced labour from the prisoners of war. Sadly, if you know anything about this railway, over 16,000 Allied troops did lose their lives during the building of this railway, hence the name that it's known as the Death Railway, mainly from either exhaustion, famine or disease. At that time, most of this area was jungle, and so they were prone to malaria type illnesses, stomach illnesses, and sadly, as I said, over 16,000 troops did lose their lives.
Registration opened at Hua Lamphong Station or Bangkok Station at 6:30 in the morning, and our train was due to depart at 8:15. So we got there early, registered, got our lanyards, and then that gave us an opportunity to go into the museum. The museum is over 3 floors and takes you to the roof of the Hua Lamphong train station. It's a mix of souvenirs, models, tickets, pictures, and shows a snapshot of the State Railway of Thailand.
Good morning from Bangkok train station, on one of them anyway. Today we are going to be going on the Royal Blossom train, which is going to take us on the river, up to the bridge on the River Kwai, and a little bit further. So we'll be taking some of the path of the Death Railway. We just registered, so we just got our lanyards. We've got our seat number on and our carriage number on. And our train also includes access to the Thai Railway Museum, which is behind us. And we just had a quick look around there and got a little souvenir pin. And so we're going to head through to the platform and take a look.
As we've said, this was organised by Richard Barrow from the Asian Train Guide. If you have any plans to travel on the trains in Asia, this website is a very good resource and will have lots of information. This charter was organised between Richard and Wow Catering, and the total cost for us was 1,995 baht, or roughly US $60 per person. There were 2 Royal Blossom trains running on this day, one on platform 5 and one on platform 3. And
we nearly got on the wrong
one.
We
nearly got on the wrong one and ended up in Hua Hin as opposed to the Death Railway. So there's a word to the wise. Listen to the instructions.
If you arrive at Hua Lamphong Station early, you can also take some pictures with the many steam trains that are on display here as well. I think there was about 4 or 5. It was quite fun to look at them, take some photos. There's obviously quite a few Insta opportunities set up in the station as well.
This service started back in 2022 when these carriages were refurbished and donated from the Hamansura Railway in Japan. They've done a really good job. You would never tell that they're even 3 years old. These look brand new. They're very professionally done. Everything about this service was just very smart. The colour, the branding, the comfort, it was clean, it was efficient, it was tidy. It was a very professionally run organisation, and you could tell just by looking at the trains, the red on the gold, it looks really smart and really clever. Each carriage is well appointed. We had a total of 5 carriages. At the front of the carriage, we had a Western style toilet. It was clean, it functioned. You did have washing hands on one side and the toilets on the other, which was a bit unusual, but it had everything you need, and it was always kept clean. Further on, you had 4 VIP seats that swivel, which look out towards the train tracks. And then you had blocks of 4 that occupied the rest of the seats. There was about 40 people per carriage, and there was a total of 5 carriages. Although we didn't have video of it here except on the outside, there was a VIP area which had private rooms. We didn't get a chance to get into here because we only just managed to snag the last 2 seats. But they looked very comfortable, and I would have chosen to go in them if we had the opportunity. At the end of the train is a viewing car. This contains a cafeteria and some seating areas, and on the way out gave a great view out the back of the train. On the way back, this is where the engine was, so the view wasn't quite as good. But this was a nice relaxing area where you could grab a coffee, grab a drink, sit and get some views, have a chat with some people.
The seats were well padded and comfortable for what was essentially a pretty long journey, and the tables in the centre did have fold-up flaps on either side, so that meant you could get in and out of the seat a little bit easier. They didn't recline, and there was no footrest to speak of, but there were power outlets with a USB A and a power outlet under each pair of seats as well though.
Throughout the trip, we were provided with drinks and food. All was included in the price of the $60. We must have been served 7 or 8 different drinks, and we were served 5 or 6 different meals at different times of the day, each one being a local delicacy, and each one, some of them, they actually stopped at the stations to pick the food up. I think the last one was Aunt Noi's curry.
It was a green curry, yes.
Green curry.
The food included along the way was usually related to the particular town that we were in. So, for example, one of the snacks was Nakhon Pathom style noodles, and this was one of our stops along the way. Other delicacies were the fried mung bean pastries, pineapple tart blossoms, some sticky rice, but everything was delicious. It felt like they never stopped feeding us. My particular favourite was the green curry that we did stop to pick up for dinner about an hour and a half before we got back to Bangkok. But basically you didn't need to buy any other food throughout the day. There was so much. The choices of drinks were all non-alcoholic, but they ranged from Sprite, Fanta, that kind of stuff, to teas, coffees. There was always water on hand at the end of each carriage as well.
So we left Hua Lamphong Station on time at around 8:10 a.m. and we weren't going to be back for another 13 hours. We didn't get back until 9:15 p.m. So it was quite a long day. We set off, but soon realised that we had to swap engines. So at Bang Sue Station, just outside of Bangkok, we had to swap for a smaller engine because we were going to go over a wooden trestle bridge. And the wooden trestle bridge meant that we needed a lighter locomotive. We're going to put a photo of us standing next to this train. If you've ever travelled on the American trains, you realise how big they are compared to these. They look very small, and even compared to European trains. We've done a lot of trains in the last year, and this is probably the smallest gauge and the smallest size of train that we've done on our journey.
Our first stop on the journey was at Nakhon Pathom. This is a fairly large town. We had about 45 minutes here to get up and stretch our legs. Some people chose to walk into town. I believe there was a market close by and there was a large stupa that you could go visit. We chose to just have a stroll up and down the station, take some pictures and have a relaxing time rather than be walking around. Oh, it looks like we're picking up more food.
We then crossed the start of the Death Railway at Nong Pladuk Station. This stone commemorates the start of the construction on September the 16th, 1942.
About 45 minutes later, our next stop was in Kanchanburi, and this is the location of the actual River Kwai bridge. Now, we could get into the semantics about this. This is not actually called the River Kwai. The river does have a different name, and there's a lot of interpretation about how it became the River Kwai. This is also not the actual bridge. To look at the location of what was the actual bridge, it's just to your left. Although this is a fair representation of what the original bridge did look like. At this point, we had a stop here for about 20 minutes and we were able to take a stroll around, walk on the bridge, take some photos. There's also a fairly large market that's set up next to the train station as well. So if you wanted to pick up souvenirs, they had a ton of different shirts and all kinds of things with pictures of the bridge on and references to the River Kwai. If you've never seen the film, you should definitely check it out. We made sure to watch it again the day before we left. There's also some other street vendors here. You can pick up snacks, and there was a lot of restaurants here too if you were actually staying in this area. Fun fact, the film was actually not made in Thailand. They actually filmed everything on location in Sri Lanka. And actually when we were watching it the day before, if you look at one of the families they go to, it's pretty obvious they're Sri Lankan, not Thai. And we only looked at that because we knew it wasn't filmed in Thailand.
There are actually two bridges over the River Kwai. There was this one that's made of steel and concrete, and there was a wooden one. And if you've seen the film, you'll know that the wooden one got blown up. The wooden one wasn't as grand as the original one in the film, but it was destroyed as part of the Allied attack on the Japanese railway. We then get back on board, we cross the River Kwai, and then we're on to Chong Kai cutting. We go through this cutting, and then from there we get to our next stop, which is the Suan Sai Yok Resort at Tham Krasae.
This resort actually looked really nice. They had a whole load of overwater bungalows it looked like they'd built. And this was one of the places that if you chose to, you could get off and spend a few hours while the train headed further down the line.
We chose to stay on the train, and the next part of it was to go over the Tham Krasae wooden trestle bridge. And this is the bridge that meant that we had to change engines because we needed a lighter engine.
This bridge comprises of 4 separate sections, and each section basically clings to the side of a limestone rock face to reach the other side and dry land.
We set up video outside the cafe and observation car so we could cross the Trestle Bridge. It's a great view. You really get an opportunity to see how close this clings to the side of the rocks and the river on the right hand side. It's quite an experience and well worth doing.
Our next stop was at the end of the Trestle Bridge at Krasae Cave. Again, there was a whole tourist area set up here with shops, little market stalls and restaurants, and you could also have time to take photos here, which we did, and visit Krasae Cave. The Krasae Cave is basically a temple. There was a little Buddha statue in there. This was a fairly short stop, only 20 minutes. It would have been nice to have longer here, but I'm assuming because of the way you are on literal state railway tracks, there's also regular trains that are running on these lines too, commuter trains. So I'm sure that we're limited in the length of time that there can be a stop at each place. This stop did let us get great views of the line though, and the bridges, and we were able to take a lot of photos here and some nice views down the river. We were able to walk over sections of the bridge. Don't look down though, there's not a lot of health and safety regulations in this part of the world. So you do need to be careful if you're going to walk over, but it was well worth it. We walked over just like one section of it, and I'm glad we did. It was an experience for sure.
Our next station was Wong Po. We didn't stop here, but we started to climb up the hill, and we got some amazing views as the train track actually cuts into the rock.
The last stop on the line was going to be at Nam Tok, and this was where we were able to join the provided Song Tao. If you're not familiar with a Song Tao, it's a truck with 2 lines of seats in the back on either side, and it's just a regular pickup truck with the seats in. Asian Train Guide had arranged these, and we were taken up to the waterfall. Just a few minutes drive, we did arrive at the base of the waterfall. It's the Sai Yok Noi Waterfall, and we were dropped on the roadside and just walked up a few steps. At the entrance to the waterfall, there was also the end of the commuter line in the area, and there's a large steam engine on display here, as well as some cafes and restaurants. As it was a Sunday, there was lots of families at the park, despite the weather, which had turned a little bit rainy by this stage. But they were having a swim in the waterfall, and we enjoyed a little walk around here in the kind of tropical trees.
So we're at the halfway point. We're just gone up to Sai Yok Noi Waterfall, which was a few steps. We've just been up there, now we've just come back down. Helen's having a pad thai. I'm having a bottle of water, and there may be a couple of cats that are being fed as we speak. At about 5 p.m. we start on our long journey back, and it takes about 4 hours to get back into Bangkok. Although we do set off, this is not the end of the food, it's not the end of the drink, and we even have some entertainment provided all the way through the journey.
And we won't be able to include it because of copyright, but they did a really great ABBA medley. By the time you arrive back in Bangkok though, literally this is what we came back to. Fortunately, we were able to just grab a grab and get back to the hotel though. So in summary, what did we think to the Death Railway?
As with all things, I wish we'd done it 28 years ago, because I always want to regret things I did and not things that I didn't do. It was really fortunate that we had the opportunity to do it. And great thanks go out to Asian Rail Guide and Wow Catering for organising this, because it was a really well organised trip.
Very, very well organised. You couldn't fault it. And we were actually sitting with someone who had done the other kind of regular, cheaper excursion to the Death Railway. And she was saying this was so much better, so much better. On that one, you didn't get any food. I mean, they literally fed us all day. It felt like there was so much food. And I know we bought food when we were at Nam Tok, but I only did that because we were in this little roadside cafe and I felt bad just sitting there with a bottle of water that cost us, just as a heads up, actually, that food cost us at there, I think, less than $3.
It was 80 baht,
80 baht, which is less than $3 as well, and the water was only like 10 baht, so I didn't feel like we could go there and just buy 2 bottles of water and sit there for half an hour.
And Helen wanted to feed the cats.
And I wanted to feed the cats anyway. There was also a puppy as well, which we didn't get on film, but I did give the puppy some cuddles. But it was an interesting thing to do. I'm really glad we got to do it. I think, obviously, as Europeans, we maybe have more of an interest in World War II as well. And so it's strange, though, we both said this, that you are making a tourist attraction out of something where so many people lost their lives. So there's that, but it's also important that we remember the history.
Yeah. It was just a bit strange. I'm really glad we did it. Absolutely 100% glad we did it. But it does feel slightly strange that there are entertainment and drinks being performed on a train that 16,000 people died
to build.
And I guess that was 80 years ago, and that's just a fact of life. The train does exist, and people did die, and now the train is still in operation for all those people's sacrifice.
And it is an actual line, we should add as well. This isn't just a tourist line.
Yeah.
It's an actual rural train line that Thai people use every day.
It's just that this service that we went on was a tourist service that went in between the other services. I'm really glad we did it, but I'm just a bit torn as to the moral.
Yeah, especially in Kanchanburi at the actual River Kwai bridge. There's like a restaurant, I think, called the Prisoner of War restaurant or the Camp restaurant or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not sure that's in the best taste. Maybe I saw it and it was something different. I don't know. It seemed like it was just a restaurant that they were kind of working on that name. That was a bit odd. And the T-shirts for me were a bit odd. There was loads of shirts and T-shirts with pictures of the bridge on, which I guess why not? But I don't know. It just was a little bit odd. But I'm so glad we went, and it was another glimpse into kind of rural life as well. Being able to see some of the different towns and the villages along the way. We saw some agricultural fields as well. And some mountains once you get up closer to Nam Tok as well. So it was definitely worth the visit.
Would you recommend it to anyone
Absolutely,
else?
100%. And if you manage to be there at a time when you can get on Royal Blossom, then absolutely do it. It was a great experience.
Be sure to join us on our next video. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.